Is there ever a day that goes by where Doctor Who isn't mentioned or isn't talked about in your life, or is it a constant?
Well, I can't speak for the rest of the world, but not a day goes by without I don't think of it. And sometimes 20 times a day, because I'm still, especially this year because of the Golden Jubilee, I'm in demand, I'm wading through a blizzard of requests, for my memories of how it was. Yesterday I had to turn down a lovely job in Australia for 5 weeks, because I'm committed to helping out on this.
Yeah.
So no, I think about it every day, and somebody else thinks about it every day, I hope.
Yeah.
There's all Doctor Who's changed a lot over the years, and
I wouldn't know.
and I know that somebody from before your time, Waris Hussein, who directed An Unearthly Child, has gone on the record of saying, the Doctor shouldn't be romancing his companions. Do you think that that's something that's an issue in Doctor Who, or?
I've no idea. I didn't watch Doctor Who. I don't watch Doctor Who, and I didn't watch it when I was in it. I didn't want to watch Doctor Who. I wanted to be Doctor Who, and then I wanted to promote it like any keen, self-seeking inadequate. I wanted to get out there and confirm the audience. I don't know all this stuff about what people should do or how men should react with women. I don't know. I just thought Doctor Who, there was no difference. I wasn't acting in Doctor Who. I've always felt myself to be a kind of benevolent alien, who was quite willing to buy the drinks and hope to get the laughs in the pub. And so I lined up with that. Before I was Doctor Who, I was an ordinary actor. I'd done some films and everything, but I used to get very fed up being told what to do. That's what actors have to do. Lots of people get told what to do. I didn't like being told what to do. And so when I got to Doctor Who, there were no standards, were there? I didn't want to do it like John Pertwee. And I suddenly found that everybody liked the sort of nonsense I was talking. And I haven't stopped talking nonsense since. Since quite a lot of the most amusing parts of life are utterly nonsensical.
Could you comment on your career change, sort of from?
From Doctor Who, it was all a
No, before Doctor Who. So
before
you
Doctor Who.
practiced as a monk for a while and then going into acting.
Yeah, but I mean, when I was a monk, my religious background of rampant bigoted Roman Catholicism in Liverpool prepared me for Doctor Who because, we were very, very strong Christians. And as you may have noticed, the thing about really believing Christians, there's something slightly shifty about them, isn't there? And I think it must be something to do with the fact that when you're a Christian, you have no privacy. He's there all the time, watching you closely, and you've got an angel on your shoulder as well, So this makes kind of life a bit tough in the bathroom or when you're burying your wife or something like that. You think, why doesn't he leave me alone? You can't get away from it. It's like trying to learn to play a violin under the bedclothes. You just can't do it. And so, believing all this utter nonsense, being brought up with all this bigotry, when I got to Doctor Who and found that he could disappear and reappear somewhere else, or that he had a sonic screwdriver and change things, or didn't sometimes, that was all absolutely easy for me. It's been easy ever since because I've traded on it ever since. Because no one would ever give me any credibility. Later when I played Macbeth, I obviously did it like Doctor Who. And lots of people said afterwards, I had no idea Macbeth was such a nice man. Because it would have meant disappointing the audiences, I'm not interested in actors who are so wonderful that you don't recognise them. I don't see the point of it. I want to be able, when I go to the theatre or watch a movie, I want to recognise who the star is, who the funny man is, and who the beautiful girl is, so I can respond.
What was it like during the fallow years when the original series ended before the reboot? Was it difficult to find work? What did you do?
No, it wasn't difficult to find work because I was in big demand, for voiceovers and commentaries, and also being invited everywhere, first class, to other countries. And also it meant, I had to get up early in the morning because so many people want to applaud me and shout, "Wow, you're marvellous!" And I'd always wanted to be liked, and then I realised by the time I was Doctor Who, what I really wanted to do was to be adored. and when you become a telestar, or as in those days, before the video recorder changed everything, that real time watching, and then discussing it the next day made us cohere as the population, otherwise you were out of the loop if you missed it. And so I had to get up early in the morning, you know, and go out basking in all this, you know, blessing people, you know. And shopkeepers used to shake their heads and say, it must be marvellous. And I'd say, it is. Yes. And they'd say, you know, look at me, said the electrician, who thinks about Dr. Dimitri? Because when a charabanc of children would stop, you know, and the children would all get out and surround me, you know, and dance around me, and I'd bless them, you know, and they'd all get on the bus and go.
Is it true that a lot of people are intimidated by actors who have played the role Doctor?
I don't know if they're intimidated by. I don't know about that.
The fact that you come across as a superhero figure.
Oh yes, well that's true. But I mean, the Americans particularly seem to see me when I used to go there as a kind of messiah, and I played that up a lot. You know? And especially the gay ones used to come in and do this kind of marvelous routine, the way very funny gay men did. Then suddenly, you know, some gay man would ask to embrace me, and I would embrace him. And then say, it's Jesus Christ, I can walk, you know, pretending a miracle had happened, you know, his friend would say, he walked in, he's an angel.
Why do you think the show has lasted so long?
Well, I don't exactly know, but there's nothing quite like it, is it? And the thing is that the early audiences seem to be so loyal that they passed it on.
Yes.
I mean, I'm still introduced to small children by their fathers or grandfathers now. One little boy said to me the other day, he said, hey, you know, he said, you used to lay my granny. I said, really? How is she? I said, she's still in tears.
There's a new Doctor coming at Christmas.
Capaldi.
Yeah, I mean, what's your feeling about him, and what would you
Well, I know
any
him because
advice?
I've acted with him in when I was Sherlock Holmes. He was in that many years ago. I mean, you know, people may think he'll do it like Malcolm Tucker. You know, he's better. Malcolm Tucker was a one-note brute, wasn't he? Really? Although he was marvellous at it. He was wonderful in Arsenic and Old Lace. He's got a big range, and he'll give it a lot of authority and mischief. I think. I hope. Yeah.
He does seem, when he was cast, I think everyone thought that felt right. There seems something doctory. So do you think maybe some actors are right and some are wrong? Not everyone can be the Doctor.
I don't think anybody knows, really. It's really not like saying we're doing Shakespeare. You know, they say we're doing Richard the Second, so we want someone noble and with a nice voice, which doesn't quite make sense to me, really, you know, because kings are just, you know, like the rest of humanity. Some of them are wankers and some are not. And, you know, just because you've got a nice voice and he stands up straight doesn't mean kings weren't like that, were they?
Does
So,
age
nobody
matter?
knows. What?
Does age matter? Because Peter's much older than the last two Doctors.
Yeah, that's right, he is. Yeah.
Does that make any difference?
No, I don't think so, because he'll come with such a wave of fascination, and they'll want him to be good. And he will be good, I think. Nobody has ever failed, by the way. Nobody has ever failed. I find it chastening, but there you are.
Before Peter was announced, there was talk of possibly a woman Doctor. What were your thoughts on
Well,
that?
I don't have any convictions about that kind. I don't have many convictions anyway. But I think actually, you know, it would have been quite nice to have a woman. I think it might have been quite nice to have a man dressed as a woman. I've always wanted to play Lady Bracknell myself, or you know, or someone who was very, very obviously gay might, you know, break it up. And the other thing is, I don't see why he necessarily has to stay long. You know, you just test it, and if the audience don't like it, kill him off. I mean, he doesn't have to be an institution just because I stayed too long. You know.
Can I ask, Doctor Who magazine, which has been running since about the 70s, I think you helped launch it. They've asked me to ask you if you would have a message for their readers, you know, on the 50th anniversary.
Well, no, just the same old message, you know. I mean, keep buying that magazine and all the Big Finish CDs, you know. And if they stop me in the street, you know, I'd really be very nice about it. I mean, that's the message they want to hear from it.
Probably it
I
is.
absolutely adore them. I'm terribly vulnerable to people who agree with me or who laugh at my stories, you know.
What about
Really manipulate me very easily after that.
what about image with Doctor Who? Did it, when you were doing it, was it important that you think about the image of it? Now image seems to be everything, what they're going to wear, how they're going to talk. I mean,
Yes, my costume was evolved by accident with Jim Atchison, who won an Oscar later on. for Spielberg. But no, it's just evolved. Now I think it's all it gets a bit precious now, doesn't it? Actually, I thought that following me, they dressed. Who came in after me?
Peter
Who?
Davison.
Peter Davis.
Peter, and he was dressed in some kind of Edwardian cricket gear, wasn't he? and then Colin Baker was also dressed in that funny way. And,
Can you comment on your super long scarf?
well, the scarf was an accident, you know, that when they looked at some kind of French artist, and they decided I'd look like that, and Jim Atchison just bought on the taxpayers, you know, a truckload of wool and gave it to a woman called Burgundian Pope. He said, knit me a scarf with this sequence of colours. And she was very starstruck by Jim. And a few weeks later we went round to her little house and we couldn't get in because this bloody scarf, she knitted up this ton of wool. And, you know, it was all over the place. And I laughed and Jim Atchison said, let's keep it like that. And so we kept it like that. And, you know, I quite liked all the silly bits of it. I'm very interested with someone who's uncertain and now someone who's probably quite close to death. I think that the silly things in life actually amuse me. The silly things with our children or grandchildren or our animals or our wives if they stay. I think, and then I think about the silly things in real life. You know, you think the silly thing about that fellow who runs the MI5, what his name is, Parker, saying the other day that Rushbridger, the Guardian, you know, has just betrayed us all, and we're going to be blown up by all sorts of Islamists or whatever it is. You know, the greatest betrayal since Judas. And no one said anything about it. You know, the law didn't go around and said, "Excuse me, sir, we've had a complaint." I mean, I find that utterly silly. I find politics silly and compelling as well. But silly when they're pretending. I love the discourse in politics, and pretending that they know the answer or what sort of society we're going to have. And you say, yeah.
You've been on set twice when the Doctor has changed over, once when you took over from John Pertwee and then when Peter came in to carry on from you. Is that, for an actor, is that a difficult day when you see the
No,
new
it
chap-
wasn't. I mean, John Pertwee didn't speak to me. He just you know, the scene, and then they locked off the camera, and then he went away, and I did that, and then I didn't see him again, and I didn't. And the same with Peter. Peter just came in for that last shot with the locked off camera, and I didn't meet him then for a year or two.
And is that because you didn't want to, or just because it didn't happen that way?
No, no, it just didn't happen that
Yeah.
way. I mean, I still don't know any of them very well. And I notice actually, and I don't blame them, I have a feeling that most of them ignore, you know, sort of are avoiding me. And I think really, you know,
Are you not going to get together on the 50th?
I think they're conspiring actually I think they're conspiring to make me happy or something like that. You just don't know with old Doctor Who's.
It has an incredible fan base. What's your relationship with fans, and do you enjoy the attention?
Oh, well, yeah, I do. I always enjoy customers. You know, when you're selling a career, I adore them. Yeah, I do.
Customers,
I love it. I love the fans. Yes, they're not so young now, of course, my fans. But yes, I do enjoy it, and I go to dues for Big Finish,
Yes.
or BBC asked me to go signing sessions with 2 or 3 other doctors. And I go along and sign pictures of myself. The other day, because it's the Jubilee coming up, for some charity, I had to sign 2,500 pictures of myself, 10 by 8s. It took a long time. And it was very interesting, except for Louise Jameson, because she looked so sexy and everything. I quite enjoyed writing on Louise Jameson. Best wishes, Tom Baker. But myself, I kept covering over like that and signing at the bottom. And by the end of the second day, I actually could not look at myself, and the next morning I couldn't shave even. It was kind of self-loathing with me, you know, posing and laughing and doing this and being hypothyroid.
You better to back it up there, that's all right.
Is that it?
One
Yeah.
last
One
question,
last
which is
question.
obviously when you left the role, you were obviously happy to leave the role. You know, with the benefit of hindsight, do you feel like there's some part of him or some aspect of him that you wish you had the time to explore?
Well, no, I don't think that there was I missed anything, because it was spontaneous all the time, because it was me. You know, I just responded to the situation. And I was the other day I was recording an adventure for Big Finish, and they let me put lines in. But anyway, just before we get into this awful house of horror that's going to happen with the music, and the woman said, do come in," and I said to Leela, I said, "You go first. It might be a trap." Now that's the sort of silliness. That's the sort of silliness in this kind of world, that anything can happen, can't it? And Louise Jameson understands that, and Elizabeth Sladen particularly understood that. She liked me from the word go. She comes from Liverpool. We got on well, and unfortunately, she stayed so little. She only stayed 2 seasons, I think. Then she went, and then she died, and then Mary died, and the Brigadier died. You know, it is a true thing actually that, and directors now are a bit nervous of me because the word's got out. It is true actually that quite a lot of directors, after working with me, have died unexpectedly. And some of them in frightful circumstances. And that's happened to a few journalists.
On that bombshell.
Terrific. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
It's a wonderful.